Hello Year 4, welcome to your history lesson today. Today we'll be looking at the timeline of Roman Britain, so when the Romans invaded Celtic Britain. I'd like you to tell me what you know so far about Roman Britain and the Roman invasion. There's two pictures here to jog your memory. If you can remember anything, you can jot it down on a piece of paper, or you can leave me an answer in the general channel. There'll be a post there for you to comment on. 55 BC, the first raid. The Romans had known about Britain for a long time. Julius Caesar had visited in 55 BC with 2 legions and, after battling some Celtic tribes on the southern coast, realised that the Roman army was not powerful enough to invade fully. Yet. Caesar left Britain and returned to Rome, describing in detail what he had seen and the land's good soil. I wonder if you can remember how many men there were in a Roman legion. 54 BC, the second raid. 1 year later, Julius Caesar came back across the sea. This time, he brought with him 5 legions and 2,000 cavalrymen. These were soldiers who rode on horseback. The British tribes agreed to pay tribute to Rome and were left in peace. Caesar did not think Britain was worth a long war, and he had other problems in the empire to deal with. The Celts opened up trading links with the Romans. AD 43. So this is many years later. We've jumped to Ado Domini, not BC anymore. In 43 we have the Claudian Invasion. The Roman Emperor Claudius had ordered the creation of a new warship to help his army safely cross the sea between Gaul, which is now France, which they already controlled, and into Britain. The army sent to Britain was made up of 20,000 soldiers in 4 legions, as well as auxiliaries. These were soldiers taken from other parts of the empire. In AD 43, Claudius's fleet set sail and landed on the south coast of Britain. Upon landing, Claudius's army attacked the Celtic tribes in the southeast of Britain and quickly took control of the lands. Many Celtic tribes realised how strong this Roman army was and made deals to keep the peace. They agreed to obey Roman laws and pay taxes, and in return they were allowed to keep their kingdoms. A few years later, in AD 60 to 61, we have the Iceni Rebellion, and you know quite a bit about this. After Claudius left Britain, he left a governor in charge. Over the next decade, each governor in command managed to increase the amount of Britain under Roman control. They were conquering more and more of the country. In AD 60, the Romans experienced uprisings from native tribes such as the Iceni. The Iceni, commanded by Queen Boudicca, were angry that the Romans had seized their lands and how they were being treated. Boudicca led the Iceni to many victories against the Romans, leaving many towns in ruins and over 80,000 Roman citizens dead. Boudicca was eventually defeated in AD 61, poisoning herself so she wouldn't be captured by her enemies. Did you know that the story of Boudicca was largely forgotten until Queen Victoria made her famous again? She wanted to be associated with a fierce female warrior, which Boudicca certainly is. AD 61 to 78. Annexing the North. Following Boudicca's defeat, the Romans turned their sights on the lands to the north of Britain. Under the command of the new governor, General Agricola, control was extended to places including Eboracum, which is now York, Deva, which is now Chester, and Isca, which is now Carleon. Agricola made sure to build garrisons and fortresses in each place to make sure they could be easily protected from any rebellions. This is a drawing of the Roman barracks at Colchester. AD 78 to 84, Caledonia. In AD 78, General Agricola moved further north and tried to conquer the lands of Caledonia, which is now Scotland. Many tribes who had been previously defeated had found a new home, so there was a lot of resistance. A mixture of force and diplomacy meant that in AD 79 the Romans were able to build forts in some of the tribes' territories. In AD 80, Agricola marched further north and began his conquest of the eastern and northern coasts in AD 83, building many forts along the way. Did you know that the name Caledonia comes from the tribal name Caledones, which means possessing hard feet? AD 84 to 96, retreat from Caledonia. In AD 84, General Agricola was recalled to Rome by the Emperor Domitian. After he left, many of the fortresses in Caledonia were abandoned and eventually dismantled. The Romans decided to retreat from the lands in Caledonia, believing the benefit of having the land was less important than the cost would have been of fighting for it. Did you know that the Romans would usually destroy fortresses that they had abandoned to stop the enemies from using them? AD 96 to 128, trouble from the north. For many years after Caledonia was abandoned, Roman Britain lived in relative peace. In AD 105, the Romans came under attack from some Picts in the Alba region of Caledonia, who destroyed forts and caused a lot of damage. So remember that Caledonia is what we now call Scotland. In AD 122, in order to prevent further attacks from the north, Emperor Hadrian ordered a wall to be built between Roman Britain and the Picts. The wall was finished in around 6 years and became known as Hadrian's Wall. Later years. Roman Britain was now largely established. However, many other emperors and governors attempted to invade the lands above Hadrian's Wall and failed, so what we now know as Scotland. Over the next few centuries, Britain prospered under Roman rule. However, there were attacks from other tribes, barbarians and other nations that were successfully defeated. In the late 4th century, Roman troops began to be withdrawn from Britain under order from Rome, and by AD 410, the last Romans left and the people of Britain were told they now had to defend themselves. Did you know the Romans introduced many things to Britain during their time, including a legal system, the calendar, straight roads, and even central heating? Your task today is to complete the history quiz on Roman Britain. It's available on Teams. Remember, if you get stuck, come back and watch this video again, and if you're still stuck, post a question in the Ask the Teachers channel, and one of us will respond to you as soon as we can, although you may not get an answer straight away. Goodbye.